Hello, everyone. Put that right there. Okay, so today I'm going to be going over a basic content tracking sheet, what should be on your tracking sheet, and how I'd go about assigning writers certain pieces of content and how I keep up to date with that. Okay, so this is super basic stuff. And for that reason, I've given you a really just simple little outline right here, which I'll have in the description below. It is literally nothing. Don't even have to thank me for it. Basically, so of course, when building content, when creating a content strategy for yourself or your client, you'll have several spreadsheets, hopefully all connected to one another in some form, maybe on the same file, regarding different aspects of the strategy. So as you saw in the video before, when I was discussing how to build a content silo, that's a different kind of sheet. That's a sheet where you keep track of the links. That's a sheet where you keep track of the keywords and stuff. This is more for the writers. Okay, so lots of content, lots of content strategies, lots of plans have writers doing most of the grunt work for you. Writing 15 to 20 pieces of content a month by yourself can be very taxing, and so a lot of the time you will be hiring a writer to do that for you. So obviously, what I have here is the titles of the articles, and as you all know, the titles are the keyword. Okay, just to add that extra chance of winnability. I've taken away all the linked content here because this is for a previous project of mine. But this is where the link to the sites would be. Of course, I like to link the documents in there, so I don't have that as a separate column. I just link the documents directly to the title. It's just cleaner that way. I've seen a lot of people not do that and just have a separate column with those links, but no, I just don't think it looks very tidy. So link to the content will be here. Although to be fair, this is more for you and the client. Okay, at the beginning stage, this column doesn't really exist between you and the writer. So really, it looks more like this. Okay, and what we'd have here is we'd have the writers on your team. Maybe you have. I mean, here's two, and here's two writers, and yeah, this guy, i.e., me, did a whole lot of work that month. And then for the specialist articles, which I've talked about, the reaching articles that actually have to be worth a damn, they went out to an expert writer. So this isn't always going to be the case, right? So a lot of the time you'll have maybe you'll have three or four writers. Okay, so maybe you'll assign. Again, that goes into trying to find a good writer, which is hard these days. But that's the case. You'd assign each writer a part of the content plan. Now, the way that I would do that, especially for SEO content, I would have each writer do their own little section. Okay, so the way that I wouldn't have them just do random articles. I wouldn't have let's say John here. I wouldn't have John do article 4 and article 15. All right, and while he could do that, I've noticed that writers do tend to become a little bit more invested in their writing when you give them, I say, not to sound cheesy, but when you give them a story. Okay, so if you give them a series in the right order, chronologically, I've noticed they tend to become more invested in the project. And This way, you can get them to do the anchor text professionally. So you'll want an anchor text for each link, which I discussed in a previous video. You want these articles linking to one another, and you want specific anchor text for those links in the articles. And a writer who doesn't understand what the rest of the picture looks like might not end up he might not end up putting that anchor text in the right place in the context of the article. It might sound out of place. It might sound. I mean, he might just be grasping for straws. He doesn't know what you're talking about. Maybe he's just researched the. Maybe he's just researched the topic itself or the niche. Maybe you didn't get a writer for the niche itself, which is, understandable, especially if you've got a very specific niche and you've got 15 building articles to write. Trust me, you don't want to hire experts for that. It will run through your budget if you do that. Only spend a pretty penny on the reaching articles. Unless you have a big budget, in which case I highly recommend getting expert writers to cover all of your content. But just for an average writer who's just maybe getting into this for the first time, maybe he doesn't have an expert, maybe he's a good writer, but he doesn't have an expert grasp on the subject at hand, you give him a random anchor text that actually has nothing to do with the article itself, but actually has something to do with the article before it or after it, and he doesn't see that full picture. It might look a little janky. He might put it in a weird place, and it might actually ruin the flow of the article, which is going to affect you. You want good content, or either you or your employer wants good content, so the more clean it looks, the better. So that's why I like to have my writers all doing their own little chunk of the plan. Okay, and so as we talked about before, the building articles, right? They're between 500 to 700 words. Okay, and what you're going to want for the budget, you're going to want the lowest I could possibly ever recommend you for a writer for an article of this length, or any length. This is about as short as you can get for an article, is $15. Okay, anything lower and you're not going to get great content. And in fact, I really, really suggest going higher, but you can find a good writer for this kind of content for $15. It's possible. And if you're going to do that, if you find someone willing, you've got to be upfront with it. If you find someone willing to write articles for $15 a pop, you absolutely need multiple pieces of examples from them. Okay. Because you don't just need one sample. All right. You need at least 5. Okay. Three samples and I know this because I've worked with writers before who've given me 3 fantastic samples of decent writing. But the truth of the matter is that, while they're a decent writer, most of the work that they've done is AI. And those same writers, if I had asked for 5 pieces of content, the AI eventually comes out. And you don't really want a writer who's working with AI and he hasn't disclosed to you that it's AI, because eventually he will make AI content for you. And I've gone through that already. Like, I've had a fantastic writer who has written me 3 or 4 pieces of fantastic content, and the 5th time that I went to them, they handed me AI, and they refused to acknowledge that it was AI. Now, I understand that AI checkers are suboptimal at best, but if an AI checker, especially originality AI, if that's saying 100% AI on your content, there's not really any arguing there. That is AI content. So again, yes, you want your writer to provide you as many samples of their work as possible, because the more samples that they have of their work that show as human, the more likely it is for them to the more likely it is for them to just continue to give you human content. It's more, I guess you can see it's more in their nature to do so. That's just a little writing hiring tip for you. It doesn't really have much to do with actually building. Actually, it does. I mean, having a relationship with your writers is the secret behind all of this. So it's actually, it is significant. So as you can see here, I've given these writers different budgets. Now, because again, like finding a good writer for $15 is possible, but you've got to plan for that not to be the case. So maybe you luck out, and maybe you have two of the writers that you've gone for have accepted $15, right? But you need a third writer, and all the other writers who are accepting the $15 are not up for the task. So you end up having one writer that is a little bit more. You're gonna have to prepare for that in the budget, okay? Unless you want to write that side yourself. So if you can find two writers, 15 pieces of content, and you have a little bit of writing capability, you could potentially be that guy. So maybe let's say you are a decent writer and you find two writers, one who will write for $15 and one who will write for $18, okay? If you could only have afforded to have three writers for $15, but you've got $18 now, maybe you write the last articles, okay? Yes, it costs some of your time, but if you're really if your budget is really suffering because of the extra $3 on each article, then that's just what you're going to have to do. So for the reaching articles, I would say, especially considering that these articles are between 1,000 to 1,500 words, okay, I would go no lower than $75. All right, that's minimum. I'd say even 80 would be, but we're on a budget here, and we haggled the writer, and they accepted $75. Okay, now this is, yes, again, this is as low as you can possibly go for a really good, like an expert niche writer. This is as low as you can go, and the chances are they're going to say no, because they'll have other people who want them to write for, and they will, and the chances are is that they'll charge higher than this. So especially if it's an SEO article. So if this writer has any experience in pop or surfer, then expect this to go up by at least $30. That's kind of how it works. The way that what I've seen from writers is that their basic content is about $30 cheaper than their SEO on page content. Sometimes it's more. It depends. You kind of have to be a pretty good writer to do on page SEO and make the content really good still, because there's so many. I think I showed you in a previous video. I didn't even show you how the content side works in that. It's like a puzzle piece. So you're gonna have to find. So you'll be lucky if you find a writer for $75, but it is possible. Just do the extra work. Most of this is most of your pains when it comes to budget can be mediated by proper hiring strategies. Okay, do the work. Don't just look for what's convenient. Okay, actually go out and take the time in your day, every single day, to find new writers. You will find people who are willing to provide good content for an affordable rate, especially if they're new to whatever platform you're on, because they're going to want a good review. So if you guarantee them a good review in exchange for content, then they'll be more likely to accept a lower rate as well. What you need to do there, though, in good faith, is even if it doesn't turn out very well, still give them the top review, because again, they did this work for lower than the rate. So you need to keep that in mind. If you don't like the sound of that, if that sounds disingenuous to you, then so be it. But that's just my strategy to how to get these riders to go a little bit cheaper in their rate. That's what I like to do. So as I've said, so yeah, you're going to want to be in correspondence with every single one of these. Now, don't breathe over their shoulder, but yes, chase them regularly, stay in contact with them. If they've got a certain way of producing content, you need to have them tell you what kind of way that's going to be beforehand. Okay, you don't want someone who produces 2 pieces of content every 4 days or every day to all of a sudden go dark and then show up with 5 pieces of content later, because unless you knew about it, because if that content needs editing, you're going to need time for that. Never wait until the last minute to get any of this stuff done. Okay, so stay in good contact with them, and a writer who can stay in contact with you is more valuable than a better writer who is a loose cannon. Trust me, he'll ruin your project. So anyway, again, short video. I hope that it was of some use to you guys. This is for you. I'll be putting this in the description just to get the ball rolling. Again, it is literally nothing. It's just the bare minimum of what you need to keep this tidy, and to have a tracking sheet, which is an absolute must if you're taking care of someone's content. Sheets like these are the only thing that are going to keep you organized. So while it may be really easy to come up with, it's essential. So here it is. This is how I'd arrange it. And this is for you, as I said here. All right. Cheers. Okay. See you next time.